What's going on, guys? Steven here, and I'm happy to welcome you back to my PMU D-League Season 1 Draft Recap video. The PMU D-League, you may have heard of it. The main league is Season 4 now. There was a lot of interest in joining, so they decided to start up a D-League, and I was lucky enough to get in the spot. The draft was held pretty recently, and I think we have a really cool draft. Some really powerful mons, not some that I've used before, some that I haven't. Should look to be a lot of fun. So let's get into our picks here. I was second pick overall, and I wanted to try out Magirna. So basically, I DM'd the guy who was first and said, "Is there any chance that you won't pick this mon?" He said, "No, I'm probably picking Magirna." So we had to start. I didn't really have too much of a plan, and I've never used Landers before. It is sheer force allowed, so I decided, hey, you know what? Why not? It's power. I've seen it do crazy work elsewhere, and I wanted to try it for myself. You guys already know what Landers does. It's a crazy good attacker. Puts so much pressure on your opponents with a solid move pool and sheer force life force, boosted moves, hitting like a truck. Multiple forms of setup in Calm Mind, Rock Polish, even Nasty Plot, Swords Dance. Gets momentum and U-turn. Gets a good mixed physical move pool as well. Super good mod. I'm super excited to use it. So, fitting the theme of power with our second pick, we picked the Firewater Volcanion. I've never used Volcanion before. I've always wanted to, but it's always been one of those things that I've been a little skeptical of drafting for a tier 1. It was tier 2 in this league, so I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Volcanion is a solid, very solid wall breaker as well as Landers. It's got base 130 special attack. It's just crazy strong. It also has base 110 physical attack as well. So superpowers, flare blitzes, if I need to some weeks, might come your way. Not the fastest mon, but it's alright. It's got a good defensive typing, as well as a great ability in water absorb. Can we run specs, scarf, leftovers, anything like that? Now, our next pick was, again, I said I didn't have much of a plan, so it kind of got around to me as my third pick, and I was up at the top, so I was second. So this was actually my wheel pick, was Jirachi and Volcanion, obviously with the guy who was first in between. But I was really surprised Jirachi was still up, so I decided to grab it. I wanted a rocker early. I wanted a rocker, and I wanted some more momentum. Jirachi gives me rocks, as well as U-turn, as well as a great typing in Steel Psychic. Base 100s across the board. And a really good mon. You can do a lot of things with it, but really if you really need to scumbag yourself a win, you can always just Serene Grace, Iron Head everything down. That's not gonna be my goal, but some weeks if you have to, you gotta do what you gotta do. So my next mon at this point, another mon that I was really surprised was still around, was Garchomp. I know taking it made me 4 times weak to ice on 2 mons, but we have a 4 times resist and a nice and bulky ice resist as well. So we have 2 4 times weaks, but we have a 4 times resist and another really solid resist. So I wasn't too worried. Plus, it was still really early in the draft, so I wasn't too upset with that pick. Also, there's pretty limited great ice types in draft format. I'd say obviously big 2 are like Mamoswine and Weavile are like the real 2 big threats, and you don't have to play them too often, if at all, so I wasn't too worried. Garchomp, one of my favorite Pokemon from my favorite generation, used by the best champion in Pokemon history. Base 102 speed is super good because you outspeed that kind of borderline like base 100 benchmark. 130 attack is just insane. Hits super hard. Dragon Ground Stab is really solid as well. And it also gets the coverage moves it needs to hit like fairies with like Poison Jab and Iron Head, as well as like Fire Blast for like Skarmories and stuff like that. It's also going to be one of my 2 Z movers. Now, how Z movers work in this league, we have 2, but they are attacking only. So Garchomp will be one of my attacking only Z movers. I don't know how often I'll run it. It'll be pretty situational because Garchomp a lot of the times is decently standard. But, we'll see. We'll see. I'm definitely excited to use it. I've never used it before. I've just never been able to get my hands on it. So this should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to try it. Our next pick, I needed my Mega. And in taking 3 Tier 1s in my first 4 picks, I knew I needed a Tier 2 Mega. Now, my Tier 2 options were as follows right here. They were Mega Absol, Blastoise, Garchomp, Heracross, Houndoom, Manectric, Pidgeot, Steelix, and Swampert. I already had a water type, so Blastoise and Swampert were kind of out of the equation. I know Volcanion is not your standard water type, but I didn't want 2 right off the bat as well. Steelix, I already had my Steel, and I already had a Ground, so I wasn't not about Steelix. I've used Pidgeot before. I'm not really too big of a fan. It's cool, but I couldn't do Garchomp because I already have Garchomp. I didn't want Heracross. Maybe if I get to use it some more on like ladder, get some more experience with it. But it left me with like Absol or Houndoom or Manectric, but Manectric was drafted right before I got to pick, so that was pretty unfortunate. So basically it was down to Absol or Houndoom, and I already had my Fire type, and I like the real where am I going? Or I like the real like diversity of Absol's move pool with Sucker, Knockoff, Blizzard, Fire Blast, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt, everything like that. As well as Magic Bounce is my ability. So the one thing you're going to notice throughout this team, our hazard removal was not the greatest. We kind of had to patch it up later in the draft, but Magic Bounce helps that. It also helps with statuses that may come our way. Switching Absol in, though, is very risky because it's not a bulky Pokemon by any means. 65, 60, 60 bulk is not very good. But on like super obvious switch-ins, it's it'll do what it has to do. It can even scare things out of like stealth rocking early on in the game if it's a lead. But Absol I also haven't used before, so I'm really excited to do it. I've seen plenty of people. I've helped people prep using it, and I think it's a really cool mon. So I'm excited to use that as well. And our next pick here was Porygon 2. So I picked Porygon 2 because it's, in my opinion, the best answer-all wall in the game as far as Draft League goes. With EVLA, its bulk is insane, crazy, except it also has a little thing that most walls don't, where you can't really set up on this guy too easily. With his abilities to download an analytic, he can hit hard with a base 105 attack stat or special attack stat. As well as Trace is a super cool ability. Lets you get a lot of fun stuff in there. A lot of fun stuff. It's also not an ice resist, but unless you're, again, coming off of like Weavile or Mamoswine's attack, ice types aren't really going to be able to do too much to Porygon. It's my statuser. My main Thunder Waver, Toxicer, can stall with Recover if I really had to. Gets a good move pool as well with Ice Beam, T-Bolt coverage, Shadow Ball, Psychic, using its Foul Play, and you can run like Return with like Analytic if you really needed to get some good hits off on like more specially oriented defensive months. So that was our big 6. We'll call those our starters. We're gonna want to bring those to most games. I don't know how often we'll be able to bring Landorus and Garchomp together, but we'll see. So then we get into my next 5. So starting off, I picked Decidueye. I wanted a grass type. I also wanted hazard removal, and this was a grass type that got hazard removal. It was between him and Sarina, but the ghost typing and Baton Pass, I think, is what sold me on Decidueye. It's pretty bulky on the specialist side. And it's got good like mixed offenses as well. So both sets, Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, are viable. It's got reliable recovery and roost, as well as Baton Pass to either of those setup moves. And I think that's really important. It also gets U-turn as well for momentum. Decidueye is also going to be my second attack-only Z-mover. It gets a lot of cool options. Like, we have Sinister Air Raid if we really just want to nuke everything. Z Brave Bird is cool because no recoil. We have Z Low Sweep if we really needed a fighting move. We have Z Savage Spin out here. We have the Dark Z move with Sucker Punch. So I've used the Decidueye before. It's a mod I'm pretty familiar with. It's really solid, especially as like a lower, not lower tier, but tier 3, kind of middle of the pack mon. Something I'm really familiar with. Not too much to say about Decidueye. It's pretty straightforward. You can run specially offensive, physically offensive. And then, so our next pick here was Electivire. I wanted an electric, and it was kind of between Electivire or like maybe a Raichu or something a little bit faster. I went with Electivire just mostly for the power. I really like the power of Electivire at base 123 attack stat, as well as base 95 for when you have to mix things up with flamethrowers or T-bolts. As well as the motor drive ability. A lot of people sleep on this. If they make a mistake, click an electric type move and give me a free choice scarf essentially, except I have the power of switching moves with like maybe a life orb. Electivire is can be a pretty devastating sweeper. It's got like really solid move pool on the physical and special side as well. You got Earthquake, Brick Bake. You also get Focus Blast for the special side. You get Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. You get the Elemental Punches. Rock moves. It's crazy. Like, this mon is super good. It's one of those really solid tier 5 steals. So another one of our later picks, we have Hitmonchan. I'm not the biggest fan of Hitmonchan. I don't know how well this mon will do. I don't know how many times it'll come. Basically, I wanted Top. Top was taken. I wanted Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee was taken. I needed a fighting type to deal with ice types, or help me deal with ice types at least. And Hitmonchan was left and part of what we could afford. So here he is. We have Hitmonchan. Base 105 attack, not the worst. 110 special defense is nice, but his HP is pretty lacking. His defense isn't terrible either, and his speed stat is kind of mediocre, but like he gets solid priority, so maybe. Iron Fist ability helps him out a lot because it really helps out his sustain move with Drain Punch, as well as his elemental punches for coverage, as well as Mach Punch, boosting a Mach and Bullet Punch as well, boosting 2 priority punch moves. So he's got a lot of upside to him. He also gets Bulk Up to increase his physical bulk and make his Drain Punch hit harder to give him more HP back. So there's definitely an upside to Hitmonchan, as well as it's our Rapid Spinner, one of our primary Rapid Spinners. So that's probably going to be his main purpose most of the time, is to threaten things out and get free spins off. Next up, we have Armaldo. Armaldo is a really reliable rock setter. I didn't have a rock type, I didn't have a bug type. And Armaldo was sitting in tier 5, calling out. He has Battle Armor and Swift Swim. Battle Armor is going to be used basically every time, so he can't get crit. He hits decently hard with a really high 125 attack stat, as well as good stab in Rock Stab. Like, Rock's a solid offensive typing. Rock Bug isn't the greatest to complement each other, but you know, he also gets set up as well as in the forms of Swords Dance and Rock Polish, as well as like the water move of Aqua Tail really helps him out to deal with like ground types and whatnot. Most likely he's just going to do this and do this. That's what he's pretty much here for. He's pretty much here to take the job of the Rabbit Spinner, Stealth Rock most of the times. Most of the time he's probably going to be a lead. We shall see. And our last pick to wrap up the draft is our third ground type, Piloswine. So Piloswine was there. He's really solid. His stats are really good for an EVL mon as well, having base 100 attack to definitely bop some things. He is no slouch in the offensive department, as well as 100 HP is solid, and 80 defense once it's EVL boosted. This man is taking some hits. He also has priority, which is a big thing I wanted on my team as well. Priority stab as well. Ground and ice coverage is really hard to switch into. It's part of why Mamoswine's such a great mon. Its stab combo is awesome. He's also a super reliable rocker because you're barely gonna ever OHKO this guy. And yeah, so he's just kind of basically part of our last little 2 utility cores here with Armaldo and Piloswine. Basically, whichever one has better matchups are probably going to come as the Stealth Rocker, unless Garchomp or Jirachi can afford the move slot. So that pretty much concludes my Season 1 draft analysis. It's going up pretty late. Like, you're probably going to get a battle tomorrow. Yeah, so there it is. The Hartford Wailmers Season 1 draft analysis for the PMU D League. Looking to maybe get our names out there. You know, we've been in super small draft leagues up to this point, but this is, sizable compared to our other ones. So wish me luck, and I'll catch you guys back here for Week 1.